Hey all, my name is Paul Borosky and I am the owner of Quality Business Plan, and what I'd like to do today is introduce you all to some tips and tricks that I've found has helped me write food truck business plans over the years. And so what I want to do is I want to share that information with you. So without further ado, let's go ahead and dive right into how to write a food truck business plan, some tips and tricks I'm going through the process. But before we do that, let me go ahead and touch on some of my experience first, just to let you all know that I'm just not some hack from Orlando making stuff up, as I go along. First and foremost, I am a professional writer. Specifically, I am a professional business plan writer. So if you want to avoid writing and going through the unbelievably wonderful process of writing a business plan, pick up the phone, give me a call. My information's at the bottom of the screen. Love to talk to you. Love to help you with your food truck business plan. Next, I am an author. I have written many books for business plan writing, and one of them is writing a food truck business plan. So if you want to go ahead and read a little bit more about writing a food truck business plan, then mosey on over to Amazon, pick up one of my books. They are on the Kindle and also paperback. And finally, I do have an MBA, and I am an adjunct professor and subject matter expert in relations to business and finance. So if you need financial projections, again, give me a ring, give me a shout, give me a call. Again, love to help. All right, so got a little bit of experience, and with that said, let's talk about writing a food truck business plan. So when you're writing a food truck business plan, everybody knows you got to put in your company, you've got to put in there what you're going to sell, and you got to put in there, where you're going to sell it. But what a lot of individuals forget for a food truck is that you have to have a commissionary or some kind of commercial kitchen that you're going to be preparing your foods and doing any kind of prep work. So you do have to have some kind of a real hardcore location in order to do your prep. And at least from most locations, from my experience, when you are writing your business plan in the company summary, in the company description, make sure to touch on where you're going to be doing your food prep. If you have enough room in your food truck, then fantastic. But again, from my experience, most municipalities are going to require you to have a commercial kitchen, and at the commercial kitchen, make sure you talk about where it's going to be. Also, make sure you talk about where you're going to be servicing. If you are going to be in the, if you're going to be in the Orlando area and you're going to be working out of Miami mostly, well, then you've got some, location issues to deal with, because that's one hell of a drive on a daily or weekly or monthly basis in order to provide services. So make sure you go ahead and make sure your commissionary and your locations you're going to be serving are aligned within a geographic location. Next thing, almost everybody from all the food truck business plans that I've read, based on companies, small business owners who's tried to write theirs, they all mostly do a really good job with talking about what their main product's going to be. If you're going to be doing waffle pizzas, well, they love to go into pages and pages and pages on the type of waffles that they use and how great their organic eggs are for making waffles from scratch. And, they have the pepperoni, and they do the pepperoni press or something like that. So they do a real good job describing the main product. But what they often leave out in their business plans is the complementary items. Talk about your drinks, talk about your toppings, and talk about what other products that they might be buying, because your main revenue generator may be your main product. However, usually your money makers are going to be your side items. It's going to be your sodas. It's going to be your coffees. It's going to be your teas. It's going to be, some other product that's really going to, when they buy your waffle pizza, they're going to also want to buy French fries or something. Those are going to be, huge revenue drivers for you as well. All right, so tip number 2, do your industry research. A lot of people love to stay local, and they focus on how many food trucks there are in, a 5 square radius, and they'll break those food trucks down into American food trucks and, ethnic cuisines and pizza and ice cream. They'll go crazy with doing local research, but a lot of time most business owners for food trucks, they're going to miss the national research. They're not going to get the broad overview and the broad scope of what's going on in the industry on a national level. So make sure you go ahead and go to some really reliable sources for your national level statistics. You can go to your Mobile Cuisine, National Food Truck Association, Mobile Food News. So there's a lot of places out there that are going to give you some ideas. But not only are they going to give you information what's going on with the industry, they're also going to give you some ideas about what other food trucks are doing across the country. It's a well-known fact that usually when a good idea is going to start, especially overseas, it starts somewhere in New York City or Los Angeles area, one of those two major places, and then it starts to spread. If it starts in New York City, it immediately, almost always, jumps over to the West Coast, to LA, and people start catching on that trend there. And then once it catches on to the trend on the East Coast and the West Coast, it starts making a trend inwards, throughout the Midwest and to the South. So if you are cognizant of what's going on the international and the national level, you can get ahead of the curve and start offering some of those products and services from your food truck that people are going to come to expect sooner rather than later. Also, do your own research. Oh, I can't tell you that I absolutely love doing this. When I'm writing a business plan for a food truck or something else, I inevitably jump on the web and start looking for where there's going to be a food truck caravan. And I'm going to scroll over there and start talking to some of the owners. Start seeing what some of the places are offering. And get a good idea of the number of people that are out and about at the festivals. So do a little bit of your own research, talk to some people and get an idea of what's going on. One of the industries that just blows my mind that are just super receptive to competitors is the food truck and the restaurant industry. I mean, it's just it blows my mind that they're willing to share their trade secrets, and not so much the trade secrets. They're not going to give you a recipe or anything like that, but they're more than willing to give you some tips and tricks and what you need to do and what you need to avoid when doing your own food truck. So keep that in mind, that even competitors sometimes are a good source of information. Next is going to be advertising. Everybody, a lot of people, they know, yes, we need to do our websites, and yes, we need to do social media. But there's some other advertising tips and tricks that some food truck companies, they fail to exploit. One of them is going to be word of mouth. You've got your social media and you've got your website. Why not, produce some information on where your food truck is going to be? Which food truck caravans are you going to be participating in the next month? Are you going to be visiting some kind of a bar and sitting out up front? Make sure to tell people that, and also, start a word of mouth advertising. When you deliver, when you hand a customer, your food item and their drink, and you give them their change or you give them back their credit card, make sure to tell them, hey, tell a friend. It's simple as that. 3 or 4 words. Tell a friend. Once you start doing that and you start asking for people to start word of mouth advertising, inevitably it often happens if you're consistent and persistent and you give a good product and you give good service, it's going to catch on and people are going to talk. Also, mailers, traditional mailers. I know a lot of people, a lot of food trucks that think, well, mailers aren't going to work for me. Well, guess what? That's not necessarily the case. If you're going to be in one specific area, maybe drop a couple $100, send out some mailers, let them know that this festival is going on and that you're going to be there. Or heck, get together with some other food truck operators and, pull in and design some kind of flyers. One might be American burgers, one might be Italian pizza, one might be an ice cream place. Yes, you're in the same place, and yes, technically you're competitors, but guess what? If somebody wants ice cream, they're not going to change their mind and go to pizza. So, pulling your money together with some other competitors are going to be in the same place. Not a bad way to go ahead and invest in mailers. You're going to get some benefit out of it. Your competitors will as well. Also, email advertising. When you're going to be out and about, start collecting people's, email addresses. Start offering newsletters. Do that other steps that you're going to be able to gather that information from the emails, and then you're going to be able to educate your customers on where you're going to be and when you're going to be there. All right, step number 4, funding. If you're going to be starting a new food truck, usually people are going to be needing funding. If you're going to be expanding into your second, third, or fourth food truck, you're going to need funding. And here's an interesting little twist that I've found in the industry lately is a lot of food truck operators, they start as a food truck and then they flip over and they start, they want to go traditional restaurants. And even if you want to do that, guess what? You're going to need a little bit of dough. So pretty much when you're trying to expand or grow or start, you need some funding. In order to get funding, you need to know how much. You just can't go into a bank, ask, well, I guess you could, but it's not going to work out very well. You ask them for $150,000, they're going to ask you, well, what are you going to be buying? Oh, I don't know. I just need the money. Give them the money, and then I'll figure it out. It doesn't work like that. Make sure before you start, in your business plan, make sure you talk about how much money you're going to need. How much are how much are you going to budget for equipment? How much are you going to budget for your commission area? Or if you're going to be leasing a place for your food prep, what's your budget for that? How much are your deposits? Are you going to have any kind of deposits, with your food suppliers? So any kind of information like that, make sure you include that in some kind of a startup budget, and make sure you call it a budget, because if you're doing your, like, for example, if you're doing your business plan today and you write up that your equipment is going to be, the $35,242.17, well, guess what? When you get your funding and you're about ready to buy your equipment in 30 days, 45 days, 60 days, it's not going to be that price to the penny. So make sure you give yourself a little bit of wiggle room and call it a budget as compared to actual or dollar amounts. That way you're setting everybody's expectations as to, yes, this is what we expect to spend. Give yourself a little bit of wiggle room, but also call it a budget. Also, next thing is going to be, how will your money be repaid? When you're doing a funding request, they do want to know that how much money you're going to need and where you're going to spend the money. But a lot of food truck business owners, what they fail to put in there is how the money is going to be repaid. You would think it's common sense that, well, I'm going to pay it from the profits of my company. Yeah, so tell them that. Or I've got a lot of people that come to me and they're going to be paying that from their actual full-time jobs until they can get up and running and start making a profit. So they're going to pay that out of their personal expenses, or they're going to tap into their 401k and do that. So make sure you explicitly state in your funding request how the money is going to be repaid. Next is going to be your financial projections. Oh, I love my financial projections for food trucks. You would think it's going to be pretty straightforward, but it's not. Food trucks have some really unusual cost, especially if you're in the restaurant industry. There's a lot of costs that you're going to not really even assume, but they're going to be there anyways. So when you're doing your financial projections, some of the most important things to address in your financial projections is going to be the items sold. What are your sales prices for all of a lot of your items? And you don't have to, put sales prices. Well, for my waffle pizza, if it's pepperoni, it's going to be this. If it's sausage, it's going to be this. If it's mushrooms, it's going to be this. If they want extra cheese, it's going to be this price. So, don't get too crazy with the specifics, but just do averages. Average price of my waffle pizza. My waffle pizza cone is going to be X amount of dollars. And then also talk about your cost of goods. If I'm selling my waffle pizza cone for $9.99, how much does it cost me to make that? How much does it cost for the dough? How much does it cost for the pepperonis, for the cheese, and for the sauce? And just get an estimate. Again, you're not going to go crazy where you're going to be measuring, to the ounce or, tenth of an ounce of how much sauce you're going to be putting on something or how much cheese, but you'll get a good idea. And then also estimate the number of sales you're going to have. If you expect to sell 75 pizza waffle cones, well, put that into your financials, because guess what? If you're anticipating selling 75, guess how much inventory you need? Enough to sell 75 waffle cones. Even better, probably a little bit higher, maybe 100 waffle cones. That way, if you sell more, you still have the extra inventory. Next thing in your financial projections, make sure you touch on your cost. You're going to need gasoline to get to and from your food truck sales places. You're going to need cooking oil if you have a fryer. You're going to need propane. You're going to need a generator and gasoline to power that. You're going to need packaging. You're not going to just have somebody hold out their hands, slap a waffle on their hand, dump some pepperoni on it, a little bit of cheese, and tell them they're off to go. No, you're going to need some kind of packaging. You're going to need even when you do your receipts for your credit cards, try to do the email stuff, but then, there are going to be people who are going to want the paper receipts. You've got to have, the cost involved with that as well. Assumptions. As your food truck gets well known, and you start building brand recognition, you're going to have more and more and more sales, hopefully. So with that, make sure you have some kind of assumptions for growth rates. How much you expect your sales to grow, how much you expect your taxes to grow, and your cost of goods. Are you going to be able to exploit bulk purchasing opportunities and maybe lower your cost of goods? So make sure you talk about that. And also in your financial projections, make sure you tell the reader, is it daily or annual, or daily or weekly sales? A lot of people like to go with daily sales if they're going to really be running their food truck to the to the limit. Or some people just want to do 2 or 3 times a week. So make sure you touch on that. Is it daily or weekly sales? And then your annual projections, make sure you include your employees in your financial projections. And if you anticipate starting a second or third location or food truck, you make sure you talk about that as well. And here is just a real simple profit and loss statement that's going to be able to help you identify how much sales you're going to need in order to break even or to make a monthly profit. So the way that I structure my food truck profit and loss statements is I'm going to identify 3 or 4 or 5 top selling items for the food truck. I'm going to identify some sales prices, then some variable costs. And then what I do is I subtract my variable costs from my sales prices, which gives me my gross profit. So I do that for each one of the items, and then I project how many items I think I'm going to sell of item 1, 2, and 3, and then I'll multiply the gross profit by the number of items sold. I do that for the every one of the items sold, and then I'll total it together, and this is my gross daily profits. These are my profits after I've taken out all my variable costs, the cheese and the pepperoni and so on and so forth. Excuse me. Next thing I need to identify, what are my fixed monthly costs? We might have a loan payment. We might have some inventory, some gasoline, some labor, space rental, commercial kitchen. And space rental could be for parking your truck. You might have to park your truck somewhere. Marketing, legal, miscellaneous. Add all up your monthly cost. Once you get all your monthly costs together, then identify how many days are in the month that you're going to be projecting. If it's July, obviously it'll be 31. If it's February, it might be 28. So make sure you put that right there and how many days you're going to be working. Or days in a month, how many days you're going to be working this month. It might be you're working 5 days this month or 10 days this month. Make sure you put that number right here. Once you get that information done, then you're going to want to figure out what your monthly revenues are. And the way to do that is you're going to multiply your gross profit of $815 by the number of days you plan on working, and it's going to give you your monthly revenues. Then you're going to drop down your monthly cost right here, and then you're going to subtract from your monthly revenues, your monthly costs, and it's going to give you your net profits. Once you have the system set up in your financials, you can then change your sales price. You can change your variable costs. You can then change how many items you're going to sell. You can change how many days you're going to work in a month, and you're going to be able to quickly and efficiently identify what your net profits are going to be for the month. If you need some help with this, again, please don't hesitate to give me a holler. Love to set up some kind of a real simple profit and loss to help you all out with your projections. So summary, follow a proven format. When you're writing your business plan for your food truck, jump on the SBA website, check out what their formats are. If you want a template, jump onto my website at qualitybusinessplan.com. It's right here. Jump on my website, and I do offer some food truck, templates for financials and even templates for writing your business plan. Remember, the star of the show is going to be your business. Just because you've got 35 years experience in food trucking and you've been a restaurant manager this and a cook for this long and so on and so forth, a lot of people that get wrapped up in talking about them. Make sure the star of the show is going to be your business. Talk about your business, how great your business is going to be, what it's going to do, and how it's going to do it. Talk about your food truck. That's critical to keep the focus on the food truck. And then location. Make sure it's strategically planned, your commission area as compared to where you're going to be offering your services. And finally, if y'all need a little bit of help writing your business plan, if you need a little bit of help doing your financials for your food truck, pick up the phone, give me a call, jump on my website, send me a message, pick up one of my books on Amazon, and I would be absolutely delighted to assist however I can to get your food truck operational or to push your food truck into new heights with an expansion. All right, thank you, and hopefully this video was helpful. If it was, give me a thumbs up, and if you need my help, I can't stress enough, give me a buzz. Thank you.